All right, everybody, welcome back to the weekly SKTLs community/volunteer call. Was going to try another beach day, but didn't want to hear it from Cody Willard, so I came inside. Actually, there were like storms all around.
See, it's not about me.
It cut the afternoon short. So I'm still in my beach gear, so yeah, I just came right in.
Are.
So is this a 2-week boondoggle or what?
It's about a month.
Lifetime boondoggle.
Oh, month-ish.
Yeah. Well, I'll be down your way in I think October, Joe. So.
Oh, St. Louis?
Cabana's like the right term. You're always hanging out at a cabana.
The brand is on point. So
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Only way it'd be more accurate would be call yourself Boondoggle Crypto.
Boondoggle Crypto. That's got bad connotations. So rather rug pull crypto. Boondoggle rug pull. Shady finance crypto.
Yeah.
Anyway. Got a few things to talk about. I know Dan, I believe you posted a PDF in the Slack link there we can get to. I did see, I think Starlink launched like 54 is like a record tying number of satellites into space.
Wait 1 second, Cabana. We got to do intros. You got Cody Willard.
Hi, Cody.
Yeah, you got Dan Geraci I'm Cody Willard, Train with Cody and 10,000 Days Fund. Dan Geraci of
other way.
Planetary Society
there you go.
And Free Fall Space. Sanasi, who is chief scientist of one of the largest telecom companies that love lead pipes on one window. Joe Anderson.
Here's where it goes downhill.
Joe Anderson, marketing maven. Joe Waldman, car business genius, and Bryce Smith, head analyst and head attorney at 10,000 Days Fund and Trading with Cody.
The legal guy.
And Cabana Crypto, the man, the myth, the crypto legend.
The crypto legend. I'm here to host this wonderful panel every week.
You do it not every week. You're on the beach half the time, and sometimes you bother.
Even if I do host, I mean, I could have done it from St. Thomas. I didn't know that we actually had signal there a couple weeks ago.
Isn't that convenient? You didn't know. All right, Dan Geraci, 54 satellites, Starlink. What do you got?
Well, I mean, those things are pretty routine now, so I won't, we won't bore ourselves with those things. No, but interestingly enough, we talked about, I believe it was last week, Viasat. They had this malfunction with an antenna that they were deploying, a mesh antenna. They've deployed the system dozens of times without any incident. Now all of a sudden they had an issue. Looks like a $420 million insurance claim for this, which has really rocked the industry. Space insurance generally, not just satellite. And this is like a major hole in the boat of the insurance industry. They don't have the capital. We've talked about this in the past to insure a lot of private stuff in space. If you think that's a lot, the stranded planes that were left in Russia when the Ukraine war started, that has resulted in $7 billion in claims in the aerospace industry, so in the insurance industry. And knowing one of the largest insurers, I'm just counting the days until he opens up his inoperable windows and jumps, because it's pretty serious numbers. But this is big. They're going to have to just bounce back and go again. This wasn't experimental. This was tried and tested technology, but the deployment of these mesh antennas is it's an elegant little ballet of unfolding and unfurling this mesh to create a large antenna. And somewhere in there it got kinked up and didn't deploy. So it's a total loss.
So I remember 5 years ago, maybe Maxar lost complete controlled, couldn't even reach one of its it only had 2 or 3 satellites, and it lost one of them completely. The stock fell from like $22 to $8. They did end up getting fully reimbursed by like $1 billion, I think, or something, for the lost satellite. And of course, the stock eventually got taken private at $54. But Bryce was talking I told Bryce that memory, and we talked about that. But we've been short Viasat, so we covered the short, finished covering the short position today. We still own a few puts. The reason we still own the puts is, while they probably will get the satellite, the insurance and cover that, they've got a hole in their business now. I mean, they're trying to stop Starlink from destroying them, because Starlink got, instead of 3 or 4 satellites, thousands of satellites. And instead of doing high latency, relatively okay broadband, it's got low latency, really high broadband. And Viasat's probably, that's why we've been short the company. We had no idea they were going to lose.
But don't confuse Starlink with the big telecommunication satellites that are up there doing work for a lot of other people. SpaceX's Starlink is a retail consumer product.
Mostly. They are, well, they're with Microsoft at the data center and a few other things.
But being in LEO, being in low Earth orbit, requires you to have thousands of satellites. If you're in MEO, middle Earth orbit, or further out in GEO, you need only 6 satellites in MEO or 3 in GEO to do the work of thousands of satellites in LEO. So don't let the number of satellites lead you to believe that they've got, bigger, better, more stuff. They have to have that many because they're hugging low Earth orbit, where if you're up against the wall, if you put your nose against the wall, you can't see the whole wall. You can only see this much. That's low Earth orbit. If you stand back across the room, you can see the whole wall. That's middle Earth orbit or GEO. So,
Dan, do you, competitively speaking, Viasat versus Starlink in 5 years, is Viasat a viable competitor still?
Sure it is. It's Viasat versus Intelsat versus SES Networks, the biggest, versus those other companies. They're the ones. And then you look at the countries they're from and who they serve, and the clients they have, the big commercial clients, the military clients. The military uses all those big satcoms to do a lot of work. Viasat has a ton of business from the Air Force, the Air Force Research Lab, and Space Force. And that's where they're going to continue to get business. They're working on a new system now for AFRL under a contract. We're actually working on, a part of that with Viasat. So, these companies, Starlink, SpaceX, tend to get all the media attention. But you have to drill down to see all the other uses for the telecom market to see where the big satellite communications companies are really making their bread and butter. And Starlink will be a competitor. There are benefits and disadvantages to low Earth orbit versus the outer orbits for satellite communications. Middle Earth orbit's only 50 milliseconds less latency than, or 100 milliseconds less than LEO, 50 to 150. So yeah, that's like you wouldn't notice.
Yeah, I thought that Viasat's biggest business line was airplanes and boats, like the mobile comm stuff. And when I was looking into it,
and SES Networks, they're the ones that do all the cruise lines, and they do all of these government installations. It's, don't underestimate the desire of those companies in the eyes of the big institutional consumers like the governments and the military. Those are the things you don't hear as much about, but they have the flight heritage. They fly a different kind of satellite. Those are where you go get the big Boeing satellites, or the York. We call them buses. The body of a satellite is a bus or of a spacecraft. And York systems, even. You're going to see a lot of these new networks now. There's the Near Space Network, which is a major NASA initiative, these big networks of satellites, and they're going to be using smaller satellites. There's a new one being built now. And these are still going to be, relatively large satellites. CubeSats and small sats aren't the best thing for everything. They're not. They're good for constellations where you don't want to punch a hole, but they have their limitations in how much data they can push and how much power they have and how long they will last, by the way. So there's plenty of work out there for everybody. Yeah, there it is. NSNS, Near Space Network Services, is a new initiative that's going on right now. Had a conversation with one new space company that's going to be a part of that. All these lunar networks, communications networks, that Intuitive Machines and CelesteNet and Lockheed's Parsec under Crescent Space, these are all new networks for communications that have very new requirements. The only other thing I was going to mention, by the way, today is, if you didn't notice, Venezuela, the mighty spacefaring nation of Venezuela, has decided to join China in its lunar base initiative. It's like,
of course they will. I mean, it's communists hanging with communists.
That's right. The land of misfit toys gets larger. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to be able to provide. This is all about being able to say your country has flown its flag in space. And, it's pretty sad for a lot of countries that can't feed their own people and they're starving them to death to, look at us, how great we are. The two of them deserve each other. As far as
Side note, the state of New Mexico has a $34 billion sovereign wealth fund, and there's hungry kids in Albuquerque, and teachers have to buy pencils for their students. So it does not just Venezuela. Piper and Damien, are you here?
You live there. Do something about
it. I'm trying to. I think Bryce is our future governor. So
go Bryce. I'll vote for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
It can work.
Piper, no baby?
Not yet. Here in the next 24 hours.
God bless. Praying.
Things have started, so we're moving slow right now. It's happening.
My great niece just
please
gave
text
birth a couple days ago. Yep.
If you'll text me, I'll post in the SKTLs Slack channel and let all of our friends know that the baby is upon us.
Sure. Yeah, no big deal. It's good to see you.
What's the name? Have you guys picked a name?
No, we're still doing a surprise, so we don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but if it's a girl, we're kind of leaning towards Ravenstone. And if it's a boy, we're leaning towards Stone.
Cody Willard.
Okay, this is wild because my nephew's daughter just had a baby, and the middle name of the baby is Stone. Like, what's going on?
That's beautiful.
What are the odds?
I've never heard of that before, so good to hear it, Dan. That's great energy.
Piper, what'd you say it would be for a boy? I interrupted by making a joke that you were going to name it Cody Willard if it were a boy.
Right. Stone Sky.
Okay, cool. Love it. Well, God bless, man. Very excited.
Yeah.
Piper, you want to tell us what are there any other news items we hit on space real quick? Piper had a topic he wanted to hit on about
Rocket Lab launch, right?
Rocket Lab had a great launch on Monday night, was it? And not only did the launch work, but they also recovered the booster out of the ocean to recycle and reuse it. And the stock has gone meme crazy, and it's we've been on here for a year talking about why I thought it was so undervalued under $4. It broke 8 today. Full disclosure, we trimmed some yesterday. We trimmed some today. Still love it. Still one of our biggest positions, but you catch a double in a stock on a meme frenzy, you take a little bit off the table. At least I do.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do at this small sat conference. Joe, you're muted. What they do at the small sat conference, because they always have a big presence. They had a huge one the last couple of years. They put on by the way, Rocket Lab spends a lot of shareholder money and puts on the best concert and dinner cocktail party at the conference. It's usually the highlight, just so you know, Cody.
Yeah, what it's like the state of New Mexico wasting my money. Now I got Rocket Lab wasting my money.
Best party ever. They were.
Bryce, can you call Peter Beck and tell him cut that shit out? We got to focus.
Yes, please, as a
Tell
shareholder.
them to stop after this year's conference, though, because I'm looking forward to it.
How many of you guys on here own Rocket Lab shares?
Me.
Not Dan? No Dan. No.
Nope.
Piper?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, Cody, when you use the word trim a lot, and when you say trim, is that like is it generally like a 10% thing? Is it a 20% thing? Is it
It's
because you say that a lot. Hey, we're trimming some. Well,
Yeah.
trim
It's
could be
usually-
80%, but I think
no, it's usually 5 to 10% is a trim. An aggressive trim would be maybe 20. But yeah, yesterday and across the portfolio, we went through and just sort of trimmed about 5%. We just wanted to raise some cash. Today we trimmed a little more. We even covered a little bit of some of our shorts, like Viasat, covered some triple Q. And again, on those, even like we're short index, like triple Q, SPY, diamonds, to hedge our stock picking. We make our money buying great stocks, and then we try to protect those hedges with shorting crappy. We try to hedge those longs by shorting crappy companies and having some index shorts. We just took a little bit off of everything in the last 48 hours, just raising 5 or 10% cash. We've had a hell of a run this month, and frankly, a pretty good year. So we just took something off the table.
when you have large positions like you do in the hedge fund, I could see that. If you're somebody who has small positions, let's say you have, I don't know, randomly 100 shares of Rocket Lab, do you trim? You're not trimming 10 shares to raise.
If you have 100 shares, probably not. But look, it's all. I typically try to tell people, think of things in terms of percentages and not dollar amounts. And so if you make $100,000 a year and you own $10,000 of Rocket Lab, I would sell 10%. It's not going to make or break your life, but just taking a little bit off after a double, you just got $4,000 or $5,000 of, pure profit, 3 weeks worth of your hard-earned after-tax income. Take a little bit off the table. But, there's plenty of people that don't trim. And then as long as the stocks go up, you feel like a genius. And even if you trimmed in 2007, if you trimmed Apple in 2007, it dropped 70% after that. You get a chance to buy some back most of the time at some point. You just got to be patient.
Well, it's all a function of your, where you got in as well. How much into the money are you that you're going to be able to trim?
Well, and I also tell people that it's a personal risk tolerance threshold that you have. And so
of course,
I in my personal account, last year it got crushed 50-60%, my personal account. The hedge fund was down 10%. 15%, nothing compared to what the markets did or what our competitors in the hedge fund business did. So I can handle the pain in my personal account a lot better than I can in the hedge fund, or my investors in the hedge fund can. So there's a motivation in the hedge fund. Number one, it's a hedge fund, so I am supposed to protect that capital no matter what. And in my personal account, it comes and goes. It's all right. Over the long term, my personal account's up huge over 20 years. And I've trimmed Apple 10%, 100 times over 20 years since I bought it at 20 cents per share, split adjusted 20 years ago and 3 months. I bought Apple at a split adjusted 20 cents a share. And so I've trimmed it 100 times and I still have a big position in it.
I think for most individual investors, Joe, one of the things you try to do, and it's not too dissimilar than what a lot of people try to do in Vegas, but you want to take, as much off the table as you're comfortable with so that you're playing with house money at the end of the day. So if you can get your original investment out because your positions are going up and they're continuing to go, and you still like the company, then there's an opportunity to take some of that, if not all of that original investment out and move it into another opportunity that's got better upside than the position you're trimming.
You're still in. Yeah.
Right. Because then you start to diversify your exposure, lower your risk exposure to fewer stocks, and build a much larger portfolio to where you start approaching the size of a fund, if you will. The typical mutual fund out there has a couple hundred positions in it. And part of the reason they're able to do well, typically is because of that broader exposure, and yet they're still deep into the stocks they own because of the relative size of them.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are better buyers than they are sellers.
Oh, they're horrible.
Me included. It's tough to know. It's tough to sell, and then you don't sell, and then it goes down.
But that's why we had this disagreement last week about rolling your stop loss orders up. Because don't get emotionally attached to a stock. It'll kill you.
And the other thing on that same note, hitting that emotional note, like Bryce and I came in today just sick to death of our shorts. I mean, I don't want to look at another short so long as I live. I don't want to
see you in shorts either. So don't feel
yeah, exactly. But no, like the short positions and the hedges have been terrible all year. They're insurance in the hedge fund, but it costs us money all year. It costs us performance all year. And the last thing we wanted to do was sell any of our longs today. So after we put our heads together and worked on things for about an hour and just talked it all through, I turned to him and said, start at the top, biggest position. Let's start trimming. Bam. I know we just did it yesterday. Let's do some more. It's too hard to sell right now. And that's the time. A lot of times, the harder it is to sell, the better the trade is. Yeah. Any other questions on this? I want to get to Piper's topic.
No, I was just going to add in there, Joe, that when I'm trying to recoup that original position, like Dan is saying, so I can get back to playing with house money, I'll trim to the higher end of that percentage spectrum. I'll do the 10, the 15, even the 20. I get that money back as soon as I can with the opportunity, and then I'm the kind of guy who holds on after that and lets it ride and sees what happens. And
yeah, no, it makes sense.
So that's how I approach it. Yeah. So
I think a lot of people have that problem. Yeah.
Yeah. No, good companies, you want to hold them forever, frankly.
Right.
Instead, most people sell their winners and keep their losers, and they wonder why they end up with a portfolio full of garbage. You just want to sell it down to where you're able to free up capital to go broaden your holdings. That's all. But I would never sell a good quality company.
Yeah. We have on our board on that same note over there, it says never short a good stock, never short a good company. And that's the same concept.
It's hard enough to make
short
money.
Something, you're literally selling it.
You're never going to pick the top.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and the idea is to use X amount of money to continue to roll it into newer ownerships of other companies. So you trim, you pull out, you put in something else, you trim that, pull it out, and you've used the same, we'll say $500 in my case, right? You use the same $500 to buy all these different companies that you now own too.
Yep. Piper's done a great job with that. I've followed along with Piper's worked with me or for me, or been reading training with Cody for 12 years, and we've talked a lot about this stuff over the year. Piper, you had a problem moving your Skytles over to a cold wallet.
Correct.
What is the name of the cold wallet?
The Nano Ledger S Plus.
And apparently the Nano Ledger, this is very confusing to me. it's a cold wallet, but there's still some sort of central control of what tokens can be recognized in that cold wallet, is what you're telling us?
It's a cold storage wallet, and it works with an app that they have, and you download the app, and the app recognizes and works directly with your cold storage wallet to identify what you own on the blockchain.
And you sent your SKTL tokens
Yes.
from your MetaMask to the cold storage wallet, and it's not showing up.
The transaction is completed. I've got the transaction tag and everything, the public address for that. I have all the info and all the images, and everything says it's validated and goes through. The thing is, the company ledger does not recognize that token address when I put it in there.
So Cabana Crypto, do you have any insights on this?
I've only used Ledger and Trezor for ERC20s. So that's, I'm not sure about BSC tokens.
Cabana, can we ask you a favor?
Sure.
Would you mind transferring 100 of your SKTL tokens over to, what's the name again, Piper?
To what? To
the wallet? The
Ledger Nano, yeah.
Ledger Nano. Would you mind trying it, Cabana, and see where you get bogged down? And I think what we are doing, and Sanatsi has been nice enough to volunteer to help Piper with it, we're going to go to Ledger Nano company and tell them, hey, you should recognize this token security address. And we were, and we'll try to get them. If you guys recall, a year ago, we weren't on CoinMarket. SKTLs was not on coinmarketcap.com. And we submitted, and nothing happened. 3 months went by, nothing happened. We submitted again. You guys should you should list the SKTL token on there. And at some point, 3 months ago, it showed up. And so Piper, I don't think your token is gone, but you obviously would like to know it's there. So we'll try to work with you and get it fixed.
The interesting thing about it, so I voted on snapshot.org, and it's still with my MetaMask wallet, which has a 0 balance of SKTL's tokens, but it counted all of my tokens for my vote. The tokens that I'll say are stuck in limbo or purgatory, if you will. And so long story short, I can't move them now. I can't move them back. They're out there. They're mine. They're floating around. I just have no control over what happens to them at this point. They're just out there aimlessly. I can't cancel the transaction.
It's sort of like the Tesla Roadster that's out by Jupiter.
It's the Cybertruck.
No, they launched a Roadster into outer space, and it's still there, but nobody knows. It still belongs to Tesla, but nobody knows. You can't. You just know it's out there.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
It's in what's called a parking orbit.
Yeah, just one more thing. So when we talked about it for the first time last year, around way before actually the airdrop. I believe, Daniel. Daniel was the one who recommended Ledger Nano X. So
I'm wondering if Daniel has SKTLs on the Nano X, and there's no reason why I can't go get the Nano X.
That's the reason why when I responded to Piper's request, I also sent it to Daniel and Wayne. So I'm hoping that they will respond. I thought, I don't want to, as far as I can remember, Daniel said that he did use Nano X for SKTL. But sure. I have no way of verifying unless, Daniel says something about it.
Bryce and I will be in New York City we leave Saturday night. We'll be there for a week. We're having breakfast with Daniel Sunday morning. And Piper, this is a topic, number one topic. Bryce wrote us a reminder that
would be great
with Daniel. I did not know that he might even have his SKTL tokens in the same wallet. That would obviously make this an easy discussion. We'll figure it out and be in touch. We will.
Do you have the latest? Do you have the latest Ledger Live, Piper?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it supports BSC or BNB tokens, so
it does. I've got BNB in there. I've got BEP20 tokens in there and coins. So it definitely supports the network. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cabana.
And really, I only have treasures on me for the next few weeks. So I don't
and
think
I
you
know
would
that
think I have a Nano.
Ledger, the earliest research I found so far is 2021. They had a token listing submission form. And so I'm just looking for that now. It's been hard to find, but I'm wondering if they still have that or if I just need to contact them directly. So I'll start reaching out to them. And the way I look at it is, as a crypto, there's a few things that are kind of standard for a strong cryptocurrency. One of them is community. We work on that constantly. The other thing is, how many different exchanges and coin listings can you get on so you're in front of more people and things like that. So it might just help us just to get on there.
Absolutely.
If we're not or something, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, if you have the keys to them, they're in your address. Nobody else. I mean, it's not like they're
yeah.
floating in space. They're yours. You just need the keys to the car to, you know.
Yeah, and this is just really a learning process for me. So that later on down the road, I've said, well, I've been there, done that. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
But this is a lesson, everybody watching. For the record, anytime you send a crypto, we took some crypto, we accepted Bitcoin as an investment into our hedge fund a couple months ago from a new investor who wanted to use his Bitcoin to start investing with us. And actually, I guess it wasn't Bitcoin, it was USDT, USDC. What was it, Bryce?
Yeah, USDC.
USDC. And what we did, and Piper said this to me yesterday when he called me and told me what happened, that he should have started with 100 and tested it before he sent the full 35 or 45,000 or whatever.
There's a huge amount. Always do a test transaction.
And so, just for the record, if you guys are watching, learn from this mistake. It's going to work out for Piper just fine. But in the future, always test with a small amount. And then,
in my defense, I have more Skytles. It wasn't all of them. It was a good amount, but at the same time, I had already moved a bunch of other BEP20 tokens over, and it all went seamless and was great and fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, lesson
learned. I mean, truly, like it just, I might not have thought of it either. And I'm glad that we can tell community, what is it? Public service announcement, PSA.
Yeah.
Start with small crypto sending transfers whenever you send anybody, even if you're sending your friend $100 worth of crypto, start with 10, make sure it worked the first time you went through. You might have to pay a few extra fees along the way, but it's obviously better than accidentally putting in the wrong wallet or something like that where it does end up gone. All right, guys, I got to start listening to some music on my iPod. I got to get on the next earnings call from Tesla with my iPhone. Did you guys know that the iPhone 1 in its original case last week or yesterday sold for $250,000? And my wife threw out the box.
In its original box?
It was in its original box, but yes, I keep all my boxes.
No, the original iPhone in a, like, does it have to be like sealed or?
It was still sealed. This one had never been opened.
Because I kept all that.
I leave you with this public service announcement: if you have ordered a Cybertruck, you might consider not opening it. When you get it, put it up on blocks. Put it in a garage, leave it for 30 years, and in 30 years, you call up and you're like, hey, everybody, you call the auction house, and you're like, hey, come pick my Cybertruck up with a drone, fly it to the auction, and it's going to sell for $5 million.
With 0 miles on it.
With 0 miles on it.
Yeah. I gotta take this call.
You'll spend $3 million keeping it charged for all that time.
All right, and with that, we are out. See you guys next week.
Thanks for everything. Bye, guys.
Later, everybody.